Larimer County, Wellington, Masonville Middle Mile Fiber, application 9678.
Hold it up. I pulled it up. You're gonna need this first.
Okay, welcome Larimer County. You have 7 minutes. Please begin by introducing yourselves.
Good morning, and thank you so much for this opportunity to be in front of you today. I'm Larimer County Commissioner Jody Shai McNally, born and raised in northern Colorado, and current chair of the Board of County Commissioners. Broadband is an important utility for all of our residents in Larimer County, and especially for unincorporated residents like myself. We have this as a major strategic goal for the last several years of our county, continues to be a goal, and I am the goal steward or the executive sponsor, and actually this is one of my passions to see, along with behavioral health, to get this our community connected. Larimer County has over 20% of the unserved residents in the state of Colorado, and I'll repeat that, 20% of the unserved residents in the state of Colorado. And I just want to say how much we appreciate the partnership with DOLA to help us advance our goals. And now I'm going to turn this over to our amazing Chief Information Officer, Mark Fappinger, who will also be sharing our amazing, strong partners throughout the county. Thank you so much.
Again, thank you. I'm Mark Fappinger. I'm the Chief Information Officer for Larimer County. I have with me today Chad Krager, who's the Director of Connection for Collins's fiber utility. Brianna Reed-Harmel, who's the Director for Loveland Pulse's fiber utility. These are community-owned municipal fiber broadbands willing to serve into rural areas of Larimer County. I also have with me Mr. Hoopel, who is going to help us with any technical questions. He's assisted me with Ditesco to refine our engineering estimates so they're very accurate for today's presentation. I'll start off by saying, like I said, we have an inordinate amount of unserved residents who have really abysmal internet connectivity, mostly wireless services in areas that are very close to city centers. What would you think it'd be like to, try to start a home business and not have connectivity in order to build a website? To take a test as a student, have to drive 30 to 45 minutes to get to a good internet site. Not be able to see the finals of America's Got Talent. I mean, the worst things happen in your life, right? So other things we hear on medical side, a lot of our aging residents aren't able to pass their pacemaker data through the internet. It's just too big. So these are the realities of a lot of our community. We have two specific areas. These are two phases of our project that are keys to our strategic plan. These position us for future broadband grants that we hope are coming down from the state of Colorado. These are key infrastructure paths that are middle mile connections into areas that are basically have dark access to fiber. It's all wireless connectivity. And surprisingly, one of these is near Wellington. And so this path, as you can see, the red line is the proposed service area, and it goes by this huge collection of red homes up here. These are homes that are in unserved, which are basically, they're getting below 25 megabit down, 3 megabit up service of their houses. The majority of them are lucky to even get below even to 1 megabit up for data. That's not able to, you can't participate in the digital economy of today with those kind of numbers. You'll see a couple key institution accesses. We have a key water treatment plant, a water reclamation plant. Wellington's been unable to find good connectivity to do SCADA access and monitoring of these sites. They're investing millions of dollars into their water programs, and they're struggling to figure out how to monitor and keep that system safe. We will be providing access as part of this project to those key anchor institutions. This also positions us for further projects. Without these middle miles connection, most of the projects coming down the pipe are for last mile connections to the home money. They don't want to spend a lot of money on middle mile or long-term assets to connect communities. By being there and being ready, we position ourselves to be competitive for future grant applications. We also hope to partner in the future with CSU to connect their ag campus, which is a key research institute for areas of agriculture. So this is our first project, which gets us into northern area of Larimer County. It also will allow us to get a redundant loop partnering with Poudre Valley Rural Electric to create a redundant access out of this area as well. Not just a connection into, but another connection out through this blue line. And also future connect our county landfill, which is being built in the next couple of years in the northern parts of our county. The second connection we're going to talk about, which is project number 2, is connecting from the west side of Loveland along highway, the highway basically up to Estes Park. This goes into an area called Masonville. Look at the number of red dotted houses here. This community is only available, the only thing they might have is aging digital subscriber line, copper service, or wireless in most cases. So another key area where we can also connect into Poudre Valley Rural Electric's power lines in order to create redundant connections as well into these communities. Both of these projects are also leveraging those electric infrastructure to make the project costs as low as possible. And we're also partnering with Poudre Valley Rural Electric to try to help them improve their electric monitoring and their grid in those rural areas. So this is a big part of our regional strategic plan. Larimer County has been working on this for over 6 years. We have a number of key locations. We've already partnered with our rural electrics in every area we can, but there's a number of locations like these two where we can't find other additional partners, and we need support and help getting to these communities in order to position ourselves to provide alternative access to broadband to those residents in dire need of better connectivity. This is a priority of the county commissioners. We're also working collaboratively, as you see. We have partners that we're willing to drive down. This is so important to our community. A lot of our cities, residents, and workers live in the county. We're a northern Colorado community. We have very strong collaboration for these projects, and we have a willingness to create a community-owned asset that'll be available for the long-term future of the community. And this is very long-term and low cost, low power. So we're using a technology where you only have power on the 2 endpoints. Again, this ties into our strategic plan. These 2 key connection points almost finish our grid for the county and positions us for future applications. And we have our commitment for local match. The commissioners have already committed almost $10 million to broadband projects in our region. We have a lot of disasters in Larimer County. It's what we're known for. And a lot of our county money has been tied up in a lot of disaster recovery. And so we can only go so far with broadband. So we really need the help of DOLA to get over that hump and get these communities connected. We have strong partnerships too with all of our regional players to make these projects possible. And I think that's what sets us apart. If you talk to the broadband office, what you'll hear is Larimer County is the model for partnerships. And lastly, we're ready. We have refined estimates. We've even been working on this since the applications were put in with our partner in Ditesco. These numbers are really good. We're using electric pole infrastructure in order to future-proof these and make them as green as possible. It also creates revenue streams for our electric providers by partnering on broadband services by using those existing assets with the electric infrastructure in order to connect these remote communities. And a couple of key things, we will be connecting to Wellington's water treatment and reclamation facility, which are in dire need of SCADA access and monitoring for protection and video and other surveillance activities. And so, why now, or, why use the electric assets? Well, because that's the cheapest way to get to all these areas. There's also a lot of rock in some areas, and so digging and trenching is very expensive. And so by leveraging these pole infrastructures, we're really driving down our costs for these projects. These are really long distance connections. Larimer County is a very huge county. From getting one end to the other takes many, many miles. And so to be able to bring a project like this for under $2 million, I think is a testament to how we partnered with our community. So with that, I'll answer questions.
All right, good, thank you. We might have a few questions, this committee members.
Question, 21% contingency, what's your concern?
Can I get some help from my?
Well, some of it, make ready is one of the things that in the air, depending on the level of the pole conditions. That's very commonly one of the biggest question marks without surveying every single pole. And then just recently, just with all the broadband interest, material cost inflation is a good chunk, probably about half of that contingency is in there in case of material cost inflation.
Wouldn't the condition of make ready be on the local co-op?
Not usually, because we're adding to their poles, and so they pass that cost to the utility attaching to them.
So that if you do any damage to their pole, you're responsible.
It's not so much damage to their pole, it's that the poles have been there for 20 years and they were installed many years ago with just power infrastructure. And so now that you're adding additional weight or additional condition, oftentimes it has to do with clearance issues that you're bringing new fiber underneath. And so sometimes they'll have to raise the pole higher so they can maintain the proper clearances from power space and from underneath.
Thank you. Because I was thinking that those poles would have been regularly inspected and that they should be up to, you know.
In a perfect world, yes, but that hasn't been the case. And it's been a big conversation in the broadband industry that is a common issue. And I think the broadband industry in general would like that to be the case, but unfortunately that's not been.
We did recently partner with our rural electric to share the cost of getting connectivity from Livermore, then when those were Livermore, it's the turnoff to Red Feather Lakes, all the way to Crystal Lakes area. We both needed that connection, one for our strategic plan, one for their SCADA monitoring of their electric grid. And they were an excellent partner. There was Make Ready involved with that project, but I think they did a really good job being reasonable of which poles really actually needed to be replaced and improved. And they've been an awesome partner, and all indications are on that project, it's coming in under our estimates.
Thank you.
Other questions, Gigi?
So who's gonna own this fiber?
So the fiber will be owned by Larimer County. We have a alliance forming in the northern area. It's called the Northern Colorado Fiber Community Fiber Alliance. And so we have willingness of our providers to operate that for a period of time, at which point, at some point in the future, when the asset is finished and it's reached a certain life expectancy, we plan to pass ownership to the internet service provider, the utility service provider that's operating it.
So then the individuals that need this will then call ABC provider. The provider will make sure that they've got that access on your line.
Yeah, so this is an open network solution. So we'll have 144 strands of fiber. We'll be able to both leverage wherever we can do projects with our municipal partners that have a utility service, which is a community-owned nonprofit broadband provider. Our strategic goal is to expand that operation as much as possible. They have the lowest cost in our region. They're here to stay. But this will also be available for commercial internet providers to buy access on these lines in order to serve communities or neighborhoods that they have interest in serving as well. So this doesn't provide that final connection to the home. Those projects happen next.
Okay. And do you have an approximate number of people that will be coming to you for this service?
So the total area has, if I expand like a 5-mile grid around these lines, we have over 8,000 residents in those areas. In both of those projects that could potentially benefit from this with competition, additional providers, and fiber to the home projects. In the project, we outline more of the unserved households, which are around 2,000 total unserved households, which are people that currently have internet services well below 25 up, down, and 3 up, which is at this point considered unserved and not tenable in the current, state of using the world today.
Okay. And then a staff question is, I can't remember, is our broadband a separate pot of money? Yes. Okay. All right. Cool. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Andy,
Can you speak to the demographics of those communities that have the low internet capabilities currently? I'm making some assumptions on like the Masonville area that it might be fairly wealthy, but I'm not sure about some of the others.
Do you want to take a stab at that, Commissioner?
It's a growing community, Masonville. I actually live south of that. And let me just say, I'm 0.7, I think 10 down, 7.7 up if I'm lucky. And I'm not in this project, so I'm on the list somewhere down there. And so that Masonville is just north of me, and there's a lot of older retired residents that are elderly. And then there's some folks that are moving in that are building their homes that you might think is that demographic. But these are a lot of working families that can't really afford to live in Lebanon or Fort Collins, and they commute, and they can commute up to Fort Collins, up to Masonville, of course, Horseshoe, or come down through Loveland. And then the Wellington area is a very fast growing area, and there are a lot of working families. There's a lot of demographics of Hispanic and families and people that want to start home businesses. And Wellington has a very active Boys and Girls Club that has a very large Latin community that's looking to have more access for kids to have things to do and connect with the school district for online learning and telehealth. And, we're really working hard on behavioral health and mental health access in Larimer County. And this is another massive piece to me for those rural residents that have had trouble accessing services in their community, but we can connect them via these services and this connection. And really, my fingers crossed that this will be a community asset that's going to serve also mental health, telehealth, and businesses. But we have, as you know, unfortunately, we're known for our natural disasters. This is a public safety. We are a high-risk community, and we're doing everything we can to mitigate that. We're still spending a lot of money to recover from the Colorado's largest wildfire, and we're hitting our 10-year anniversary for the floods. FEMA still hasn't reimbursed us for all of those costs. We're still getting costs 10 years later. Thank you, FEMA, but as you know, it takes a while, and so we're a community that's dealing with a lot. But the public safety issue, we do have grass fires and field fires up in Wellington, so it'd be nice to be able to have folks connected. And Masonville, of course, was evacuated during Cameron Peak and the flood. So just those I wanted to kind of bring in the public safety issue as well for me as a commissioner. Thanks.
In general, Wellington's one of our more affordable areas north of that area. And that's where a lot of our younger professionals are trying to move in, but they're struggling. You can't compete for jobs if a lot of them require you to have either hybrid remote work or full remote work, including a fairly large sum of our population in those areas. We did do a survey a few years ago. 25% of the residents in the Wellington area were interested in starting some form of home business in the next 5 years. That was a number that was way higher than any other region in Larimer County. We surveyed all of our remote communities. And so that was an interesting anecdote, very entrepreneurial, young and up and coming population in that area.
Thanks.
okay, other questions? I have a question. Actually, I also have one for staff, but this is probably one of the first broadband we've seen since all the federal money has been announced. I don't know how that's been deployed. I know it's really the state broadband of this function largely. So has any of those resources been identified to help support this project?
Yes, the main funding source that's coming out is called the BEAD Fund. It's part of the Infrastructure and Jobs Act. Colorado Broadband Office won't be deploying or having BEAD grants until next year, probably summertime. What's critical to the Broadband Office is solving middle mile now. And so we're actually competing for a couple other grants for some more costly, I'd call high cost areas. These are a little bit low cost, and I think they're kind of low hanging fruit. The broadband problem is so big in Larimer County. It's a $300 million problem in Larimer County. It requires a lot of participation from all the sources we can. We can't do it alone. The county doesn't have enough money. The federal dollars aren't going to get us there. But we're a key component of the governor's goal to get to 98% of households by 2027. But without the support of DOLA on a small portion of this project, a lot of these connections are going to go unconnected, and they're going to delay our ability to complete BEAD projects in time. They put a time window on the implementation of fiber to the home projects. And if we don't have a head start on some of these middle miles, there's no way we're gonna get, those monies, spent in the amount of time it's gonna take to get those projects completed.
Okay, that's a good answer. Staff, so have we funded above ground fiber, with middle mile in the past? What's been our experience there as opposed to underground?
Yes,
We have,
yes. Yeah, so aerial fiber we have done, yes.
And the goal here, we're also working closely with Poudre Valley Rural Electric. The hope is to partner with them and put this in the electric space of the power lines, which shows that they're a willing partner in this project. As much as possible, by putting it up in the higher electric space, it's protected versus hanging it kind of lower on the pole where normally your pole attachments are. And so far, they seem very willing to partner with us on doing a project like that.
okay, good. All right, final round of questions. All right, thank you, Larimer County.
You're welcome.
Good to
Thank
see you,
you.
Commissioner.
Thank you.